হ্যাঁ, যেটা বলছিলাম যে এই জন্য বিশেষ করে লেখাপড়াতে আমরা মনোযোগী হব। হ্যালো,
জি স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, আমি বুঝলাম না হঠাৎ করে আমার এটা হয়ে গেছে। শোনা যায়? নরিন, শোনা যাচ্ছে তো?
জি স্যার, ক্লিয়ার ক্লিয়ার, দেখাও যাচ্ছে, শোনাও যাচ্ছে, ক্লিয়ার।
হঠাৎ করে এগুলো আমি কম বুঝি। আমি একটু ইয়েতে থাকি। আজকে সেশনটা তো স্পেশাল সেশন, এটাতে আমাদের সিও স্যার আসবেন, আসলে অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স এটা কি আমারই কেটে গিয়েছিল না নরিন সবার জানার জন্য? মানে আমি যে অফ হয়ে গেলাম এটা কি আমারই না সবারই হলো? অ্যাটেন্ডেন্সও দেখতেছি একটা একটা করে বাড়তেছে।
সবার সবার
ও, তাহলে এরকমই, হ্যাঁ,
সবারই।
সেন্ট্রালি আর কি। হ্যাঁ, ঠিক আছে। তো however, by saying was before you search, ইংরেজি বাংলা বিষয় বলেই ভালো শোনা যাবে, প্রেজেন্টেবল হবে। সেটা হলো কি যে লেখাপড়া সহ কর্মক্ষেত্র এগুলোতে একটু ইনটলারেন্ট হতে হবে, পাঞ্চুয়াল হতে হবে। আর একটা হচ্ছে কি যে taking all time positive sense upon you and should be pleased। তার মানে কি হলো, সব সময় সর্বদা একটু খেতে হবে, পজিটিভ সেন্স থাকতে হবে। মানুষ ভুল করবে, উলট পালট হবে, চলতে গেলে ব্যত্যয় ঘটবে। এইগুলো নিয়ে অত চিন্তা ভাবনা করা যাবে না, গবেষণার দরকার নাই। যেটা ছুটে যায়, যেটা কিছুটা উলট পালট দেখা যায়, আমরা তো পজিটিভ মানুষ, এইভাবে কথা বলতেছি। ওই ক্ষেত্রে ইউ শুড বি লাইন্ড আপ। ইউ আর অ্যাকচুয়ালি ড্রাইভার বলে, এই ড্রাইভার মানে চালক না, ড্রাইভার অর্থ চলক। আপনি চলক, সায়েন্সের কথা। তো আপনি চলে যাবেন, ডানে বামে হোক কিছু, সেটাকে সোজা হোক। কেউ যদি ভুল করে তাকে বলবো, কেউ যদি কোনো কিছু খারাপ ইয়েতে থাকে তাকে একটু নাড়া দিয়ে দিব, যতদূর পারা যায়। যখন দেখছি টাচ আপন ইউ ইভেন অলসো হার্ম of your any matters, you will go alone, একলা চলো। তো বিষয়টা এরকম হবে যে অন্য কাউকেও আমরা না করি। 22 দেখি আমি আর 2-4 মিনিট। তো আমি যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছিলাম যে আজকের সেশনটা স্পেশাল সেশন। দেখি সকালবেলা তো করে রাখছিলাম আমাদের রেসপেক্টেড স্যারকে, তো এখন আরেকবার করে দেখি, চাঙ্গা করে দেখি। তো এটা স্পেশাল রেগুলারদের সাথে, এটা মনে হয় আজকে কি সেকেন্ড ডে না? আজকে সেকেন্ড ডে না ফার্স্ট ডে?
স্যার সেকেন্ড ডে।
তাহলে তো বলাই আছে এই শিখে নেন। আর একটু ইংরেজি স্যারে ইংরেজি বলেন, ইংরেজিতে সাবলীলতা ফিল করেন। ওই জন্য আপনারা যা পারেন বলেন। আর হ্যাঁ, 2 দিন আসবেন, কাজেই ওভারঅলে কিছু থাকলে। আর আমাদের প্রধান নির্বাহী, কাজেই আপনি কাছে পাচ্ছেন, আপনাদেরও কি বলবো যে হেল্প হবে। কোনো এটাই নয়, এবারে অন্য কিছু থাকলে বলবেন। আমি যেমন এক ডিভিশন দেখি, উনি ওভারঅল চার্জে সব দেখেন। তো এই জন্য আপনাদের যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছি যে শেয়ার করবেন, আর কথাবার্তা না বুঝলে বাংলা বলবেন। ইউ আর পারমিটেড ইন ইউর হোলি অফ দ্য, আই থিঙ্ক, হার্টি ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজ। আমাদের বাংলা প্রাণের ভাষা, এবং এই ভাষার মতো অভিব্যক্তি। আমিও তো ইংরেজির ছাত্র, হয়তো আপনারা জানেন, অনেকে জানেন না। বাংলা না জানলে ভালো, ইংরেজিও শিখতে, কারণ উই আর অলসো taking our realization and fluency upon mother tongue and then convert and flourish of our next process in English. এই যে আমি যে কথা বলতেছি আমার চিন্তা চেতনায় আমার আগে বাংলা মাথায় চলে আসতেছে, এটাকে আমি কনভারসেশনস ট্রান্সলেট কনভার্ট যেটা বললাম করে আমি ইংরেজি বলছি। এই জন্য আপনি বাংলায় বলবেন, না বললে কোনো অসুবিধা নাই। ডোন্ট নার্ভাস অর অ্যাফ্রেড, উই আর হিয়ার মাই ডিয়ার। যতক্ষণ আপনি সিএ না হন এবং সিও হলেও এই যে যত টিচার দেখেন না ম্যাক্সিমামই আমাদের প্রোডাকশন। এই জন্য ইউ আর নট অ্যালোন হেয়ার। পড়তে আসছেন, ভালো করে পড়েন। কোনো হেল্প লাগলে ডাইরেক্ট আমাদের জানাবেন, মেল করবেন ডাইরেক্ট। আমি একটু ব্যস্ত থাকি, আগেও বলছি এখনো বলি, হয়তো না পেলেও এক সময় আমাকে পেয়ে যাবেন। আর ডাইরেক্ট পেলে তো হয়েই গেল। অনেক কাজে থাকতে হয় আপনাদের নিয়ে। আর অন্যান্য সাবঅর্ডিনেট আমাদের 5টা ডিপার্টমেন্ট আমি দেখে থাকি। অন্যান্য ওখানে ন্যূনতম ডেপুটি ডাইরেক্টর গুলো আছে, সব ডিপার্টমেন্ট হেড। আমি মাঝে মধ্যে আমাদের ইয়েতে দেই, যোগাযোগ করবেন। যদি সেখানে তেমন বুঝা না বুঝা, জানা অজানা তেমন ইয়ে থাকে, দেন টেল মি। কাজেই আশা করি অসুবিধা হবে না বা হওয়ার কথা। তো এই গেল। আর যেটা বলতে চাচ্ছিলাম যে কোনো সুবিধার কথা একটু যাই। কোনো কিছু আমাকে বলার আছে কোর্সের সম্পর্কে? ক্যাপ্টেন যারা, ইভেন অল ইউ আর ফ্রি, ওপেন। কোনো ক্লাসের অসুবিধা, টিচার্স এর ম্যাথোলজি টেকনিক কোনো অসুবিধা, অথবা কোনো জায়গায় কোনো কি বলে যে ফার্দার টেকিং ইনিশিয়েটিভস অর মডিফিকেশন দরকার আছে কিনা? ক্যাপ্টেনকে ইয়ে করেন।
আসসালামু আলাইকুম স্যার।
আনোয়ার হোসেন স্যার, আনোয়ার হোসেন।
আনোয়ার আছে? আনোয়ার,
আসসালামু আলাইকুম স্যার।
আসসালাম। এমনি কোনো ইয়ে অসুবিধা, যেমন রেকর্ডিং গুলো পাওয়া যাচ্ছে কিনা?
স্যার
যারা
রেকর্ডিং লাস্ট 28 তারিখ পর্যন্ত পাইছিলাম আর কি।
আচ্ছা, ওই যে সরকার ভাই অবসরে চলে গেছে, আমাদের ইয়ে দেখতেছে, ছোট মানুষ, আমি বলে দেবো। আর এগুলো আছে, পাবেন, অসুবিধা নাই।
স্যার আমাদের স্যাম্পল কোশ্চেন দরকার, স্যাম্পল কোশ্চেন স্যার।
স্যাম্পল আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, এগুলো টিচারকে অলরেডি দেওয়া আছে, আমি ইনফ্লুয়েন্স করে দিলে
সব সাবজেক্টেরই স্যার কোশ্চেন দরকার আমাদের স্যার।
আচ্ছা ঠিক
সব
আছে, আছে নৌরি।
স্যার আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ বলেন। হ্যাঁ
স্যার আমাদের ভ্যাট মাহবুব স্যারের ক্লাসটা স্যার দুইটা ক্লাস একসাথে নিলে ভালো হয়। ওইটা আসলে স্যার 1.5
আচ্ছা,
ঘন্টায়
হ্যাঁ
হয় না।
উনিও বলছেন। আচ্ছা দেব। আমার বিষয়টা এরকম,
এটা স্যার একটা রিকোয়েস্ট এটা।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, রেগুলার এইভাবে
স্যারের ক্লাসটা অবশ্যই স্যার 3 ঘন্টা না দিলে স্যার আসলে আমরা কোনো কিছু ম্যাচ করতে পারি না।
মানে স্যার আমাদের পোরশন গুলো ইনকমপ্লিট
বুঝে
থেকে
গেছি।
যায়।
একবার বলে ওটা নো নিড অফ এক্সপ্লেনেশন, আমি তো বুঝে যাই। এই জন্য দিব,
ওকে
এক
স্যার,
কথায় বললাম।
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
অন্য
Thank you,
ইয়েতে যাই, দিব বললাম তো যে হোয়াট ইউ উইল বি রিকোয়ার্ড। ইভেন আই থিঙ্ক যে ইয়ে কি বলে যে নেসেসিটি অল অফ ইউ উইল প্রোভাইড। এই ক্লাসটা এগুলো তো আপনাদের জন্য করা যায় না। এখন যদি আপনাকে সেভাবে আমরা সার্ভিস বা আপনার ওরিয়েন্টেড নাই করলাম, তাহলে তো আর ওভাবে ইয়ে হলো না, তাই না দাদারা? কাজে এগুলো না। আর 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 অন্য প্রসঙ্গে আসি। নো ফ্রি করে দিলাম, বলেন জেনে যাই। ছাত্র টিচারের ডিমান্ড, মাহবুব আলমের ডবল ক্লাস হয়ে যাবে। আর অন্যান্য সাবজেক্ট গুলোর অবস্থা কি? স্পেশালি ওই অ্যাকাউন্টিং বা অ্যাসুরেন্স, এগুলো তো আগে পরীক্ষা দিয়ে থাকে সবাই। আর একটা কি জানো, বেশি বেশি পরীক্ষা দেয় এগুলো, সোজা সাবজেক্ট গুলো আগে দিয়ে দেয়। অনেকে যারা আইটি আছে আইটি দেয়, ল দেয়, বিজনেস ল এর অবস্থা কেমন? দিয়ে বিজনেস ল ভালো?
বিজনেস ল তো স্যার কোম্পানি লটা একটু স্যার
কে
কম
টিচারকে একটু মনে করায়, এখন তো ওইভাবে তানভীর না
তানভীর স্যার, স্যার উনি তো বাইরে আছে এখন।
না কি পড়াচ্ছে কি ওয়াহিদ মুরাদ না তানভীর এখানে নাকি?
ওয়াহিদ মুরাদ স্যার পার্টনারশিপ একটা
ওগুলো তো ভালো
দেখতেছি।
টিচার এরা সব।
জি স্যার,
হ্যাঁ,
না স্যার
ভালো
ঠিক
দুজন।
আছে। না
দুজনই
ওই
ভালো।
স্যার সময় দিতে পারতেছে না, হয়তো বা স্যার বাইরে গেছে ওইটা।
হোক, অসুবিধা নাই। ওই যে রিমেইন দ্য সিচুয়েশন সেন্ডিং ক্লাস, হি অর শি উইল কাম ব্যাক এন্ড অলসো
স্যার আর হচ্ছে স্যার ওই ডিরেক্ট ট্যাক্সটা স্যার একটু।
জাফরুল্লাহ খান স্যার,
জি স্যার ওনার।
and he is very good, his process also good.
জি স্যার।
হয়তো ওই মন দিতে হবে, আর স্যারকে আমি বলে দিব যে একটু ছাত্রদের সাথে ইন্টারাকশন করতে হবে। উনি
জি স্যার।
এমনিতে কিন্তু এজ এ টিচারও ভালো, মানুষ হিসেবেও ভালো, বিশেষ করে ছাত্র ওরিয়েন্টেড, গার্ডিয়ান সুলভ। এই জন্য যদি কোনো কিছু অসুবিধা হয় আমি বলবো, তবে উনি তো এক্সিস্টিং টিচার আপনাদের হয়তো। আর মাহবুব আলম যেটা, এই দুইটা যে দুই কোয়ালিটি ইয়ে করবে টেকনিকে। একটা হচ্ছে মাহবুব আলম ভেরি ডাইনামিক অ্যান্ড
ডাইনামিক স্যার, অনেক ডাইনামিক স্যার, খুব ভালোভাবে শেখায় মাহবুব স্যার।
and also took previously huge preparation, especially online teaching, অনলাইনের জন্য যেটা প্রযোজ্য, এটা আমাদের মাহবুব আলম হেড যিনি নিচ্ছেন, তিনি অনেক এগিয়ে অনেক টিচারের থেকে। এই জন্য আপনার এখানে একটু ইয়ে হবে, এটা বলে যে অ্যাটিটিউড অফ ইউর উইল বি সাচ দ্যাট you will be also attack upon your মাহবুব স্যার। এটা আগেও হয়েছে, এখনো হবে। আমি দেখি তো একটু আমাদের স্যারকে তো সব এই করা ছিল। হ্যাঁ, আসতেছে স্যার কিছুক্ষণের ভিতরে। আসি, তারপরে আমি বেশি অ্যানালাইসিসে যাব না আনোয়ার, অন্যান্য যারা আছেন, কারণ অল টিচার্স আর দেয়ার টু মি। উই অলসো সিলেক্ট আন্ডার দি গাইডেন্স অফ বোর্ড অফ স্টাডিজ। বোর্ড অফ স্টাডিজ থেকে এগুলো অনুমোদন দেয়, আমি সেখানে সেক্রেটারি পদাধিকার বলে, আর এডুকেশনের হেড। কাজে হোয়াট ইউ সে আই উইল নট গো টু ইন ডেপথ। ক্লিয়ার? আমি বুঝাতে পারছি?
জি স্যার।
ক্রিয়েট মাই ইমেজ এন্ড অলসো ইউর belovedness, the loveness। এই জন্য এর ভিতরেই থাক। 19-20 হবে, কিন্তু একবারে ইয়ে হবে না। এই জন্য এটা অনেক কিছু মেনে নিয়ে চলতে
স্যার
হয়।
ঠিক আছে স্যার, আমাদের সব স্যারই স্যার ভালো আছে স্যার, আমরা তো ভালো করেই পড়াচ্ছি।
আনোয়ার,
ডিরেক্ট টেক্সটটা
ওইভাবে
একটু
না
স্যার।
ইয়ে করে, আমি যেটা বলি যে ইউ মাই ডিয়ার এন্ড পার্ট অফ বডি। আমি ছাত্র টিচার নিয়ে চলি তো, আমার ডিভিশনের নামই তো হলো এডুকেশন এন্ড স্টুডেন্টস অ্যাফেয়ার ডিভিশন। এই জন্য একটা জিনিস মনে রাখবেন যে সব মানুষই পূর্ণাঙ্গ নয়, আর সব যে যেখানে we also stand on our service even activities, we are not perfect there। একটা থাকে, এগুলো থাকবে, কারো কম থাকবে, বেশি থাকবে, এগুলো ওভারকাম করা হবে। ওই জন্য don't also influence anything, any matter, even their teachers, students, এগুলো দরকার নেই। আচ্ছা, আসি এবার দুটো কথা বলে নেই। পরীক্ষা আগে ক্লাস শেষ হয়ে যাবে, কোনো চিন্তা নাই, এক্সট্রা কিছু ক্লাস করাবো না। তাহলে কি হলো মাই ডিয়ার, এক্সাম প্রিপারেটরি ক্লাস করাবো, রিভিউ ক্লাস করাবো। এই যে স্যার করাচ্ছি না আমরা, শ্রদ্ধা শুভাশিস স্যার, এরকম অন্যান্য সাবজেক্টও আনবো। প্লিজ ওয়েট। আগে পড়ে
ট্যাক্সের জন্য স্যার, ট্যাক্স অ্যাকাউন্টিং অ্যাসুরেন্স এগুলোর জন্য একটু স্যার
পড়তে, এগুলো না, রেগুলার না, স্পেশালিস্ট
আইটির জন্য স্যার, একটু আইটির জন্য স্যার,
হ্যাঁ
আইটির জন্য,
আনবো, হ্যাঁ ভাই মোহাম্মদ
আইটির জন্য স্যার রিভিউ ক্লাস করে বা একটু
নিয়ে আসবো। আমি তো এই যে এইসব বলতেছি না, এই আমি যা বলি আমি তো করবো, অসুবিধা কি।
আইটির তো কোনো স্যার আইটির কোনো বইও তো আমরা পাইনি, রেফারেন্স আইসিবির কোনো বই নাই।
একটু শুনে নেন, আমি বলি আইটিটা হলো বই দিয়ে কাজ হয় না দাদা, এই জন্য বই করে না 18 সাল থেকে। আর একটা হচ্ছে যে টিচার গুলো আছে না, এখানে কি আইটি না আনোয়ার
স্যার আইটি হচ্ছে একজন হচ্ছে পলাশ স্যার আর একজন হচ্ছে হাসান স্যার।
ইউ রিসিভ দ্য হাই রিসোর্স। পলাশ
স্যার।
ক্লাস করলে তো আইটিতে আর কিছুই লাগে না, কারণ কি সিলেবাসে ওনার হাত, সাজেস্টেড আনসারে ওনার হাত, কোশ্চেন মেকানিজমে ওনার হাত আছে। এই জন্য
স্যারের ক্লাস পাইছি কম স্যার, একটা ক্লাস পাইছি।
ওনার একটা ক্লাস পেয়েছি স্যার।
হ্যাঁ আনোয়ার, আমরা ওই যে পাসওয়ার্ডটা আইডি লিখছি ওটা ঠিক আছে না? আমি তো লিংক দিয়ে করছি। আনোয়ার
জি স্যার।
ওই যে পাসওয়ার্ড এবং আইডি আছে ঠিক আছে না?
স্যার আমরা তো স্যার লিংকে ক্লিক করার সাথে
হ্যাঁ
সাথে
আমিও তো লিংকে ঢুকছি, তো
স্যার কি ঢুকতে পারতেছেন না?
স্যারে তো পারতেছে না বলে, বুঝলি তো আবার এগুলো দিয়ে আসে, একটু দেখবা। 6161 ঠিকই তো, 64 616450, হ্যাঁ 6099582535 ঠিকই তো আছে। দেখি আমি ফোন করে দেখি, আসছে তো, স্যারে চলে আসছে। আমরা স্যারকে ইয়েতে পাচ্ছি না, এই মনে হয় আনোয়ার ভিডিওতে পাচ্ছি না মনে হয় না, আমরা স্যারকে কিসে পাচ্ছি?
স্যার স্যার আসছে।
আসছে ভিডিওতে দেখা যায়?
জি স্যার, এই যে স্যারের পোস্ট করে দিচ্ছি।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আমি এখানে দেখি একটু। মনে হয় স্যারের লাইনে যা হচ্ছে, দেখি একটু ফোন করি।
স্যার আসছে স্যার।
আসছে?
জি।
হ্যাঁ দেখা যায় তো, গুড, হয়ে গেছে স্যারের ইয়ে। তো থ্যাংক ইউ ভেরি মাচ। আমি যেটা বলতে চাইলাম স্যার অলরেডি চলে আসছেন, শুরু করবেন। হ্যাঁ, আমি যেটা বলতে চাই যে আদাব স্যার, আদাব। তো আবার তাহলে my dear students, actually now we will also join the session. It is second round. তো as usual আগের মতোই সিনপসিসটা সামনে রাখি, আর আমাদের শ্রদ্ধেয় প্রধান নির্বাহী স্যার, আমাদের গার্ডিয়ান অলরেডি চলে আসছেন। সেকেন্ড রাউন্ড এটা, প্রথম রাউন্ডে আমরা করলাম, সেকেন্ড রাউন্ড এভাবে অনার বিফোর এক্সাম উইথ দ্য সেশন উইল অলসো রিসিভ ইনশাআল্লাহ কন্টিনিউ। এভাবে যে কয়েকটা সেশন করা যায় অত্যন্ত ইফেক্টিভ এক্সাম প্রিপারেটরি কাজে আমরা এভাবে করব। তো as usual my request, please keep your synopsis aside or beside you, পাশে রাখি, ক্লাস করি, and response as and when required, especially to continue and effective the session. তাহলে সেশনটা এফেক্টিভ করার জন্য, জানার জন্য যে স্যার আমাদের শুভাশিস স্যার আমাদের সম্মানিত প্রধান নির্বাহী হিসেবে আছেন স্যার, তো আপনারাই জানেন যে লার্নেট এবং কিছু দিতে আসেন, দেন এটা যেন সুন্দরভাবে নেওয়া যায়, পরীক্ষাতে ইনপুট দেওয়া যায়। হ্যাঁ মাই ডিয়ার, তো থ্যাংক ইউ। আর কথা না বাড়াই, আর আবার আসবো, আবার কথা বলবো। আজ তো অনেক কথা বললাম, আর বিশেষ করে আনোয়ার ক্যাপ্টেন যারা আছেন,
জি স্যার।
attentive to your lesson and inshallah session will be effective. তো আমি বিদায় নেই আর স্যারকে হ্যান্ড ওভার করে দেব এখন আমি। স্যার, actually we are saying you and you are also informed us, so you may kindly start your valuable session and allow us to leave and just to continue. স্যার, স্যার আপনি দয়া করে শুরু করেন আর আমি বিদায় নেই। আর এখানে আমাদের সকলেই আছে পার্টিসিপেন্টস, ইনশাআল্লাহ অসুবিধা হবে না। as far as good, you also continue. আমি স্যার বিদায় নিচ্ছি, আর সকলকে আবারও থ্যাংক ইউ এবং দোয়া থাকলো। আদাব স্যার, আদাব।
Okay, good evening to everybody. Welcome to this class. I believe
Adab, sir.
that,
Adab, sir.
Good evening, sir.
good evening. I believe I had one class with you before, and this is the second class, but this is not a regular class, as you know, because you have got your regular teacher, and the regular teacher is teaching you different topics of income tax. But this is, of course, additional, something additional. And in the first class, we had a discussion on the concept of income tax, principles of a good taxation system, nature of income tax, different types of taxes, what is the necessity of income tax, why do you want to pay income tax, why you don't want to pay income tax, but still the government needs your money in order to spend it on various purposes. We discussed all those issues in the previous class. Today, we will be discussing the issues relating to different concepts or terminologies of income tax. So by terminology, we mean different definitions of income tax. There should be some concepts. You must know all these beforehand, because in the income tax ordinance, you will find that the terminologies are given under section 2 of income tax ordinance. That means before going into details of the income tax ordinance, you have to know the terminologies first in order to make yourselves aware of the terms. Those will be taught to you in course of the course. As you see in section 2, the terminologies are arranged in alphabetical order. That means according to the letters of the alphabet. starting with A, then with B, then with C, like that. So up to Z, you have to go to the end. And we will be just touching upon some of the terminologies which are important to you, not all the terminologies, but I would advise you to go through all the terminologies yourselves, because if you go through the book, you will have an understanding about the terminologies which are given in section 2, and that will help you a lot in understanding the concepts in details afterwards. So let us start with terminology, the annual value. So annual value, as you know, it starts with A. So it is in the first phase of the terminologies, annual value. Why is it needed? And what do you mean by annual value? And why is it necessary for you? You will see that these definitions are related to various sections afterwards. So annual value, that is also related to section 24. Section 24 deals with income from house property, and you have to calculate the income from house property. So in order to calculate income from house property, you first know the annual value. If you do not know annual value, then you will not be able to calculate income from house property. Income from house property is, of course, a very important source of income. And you know that there are various sources of income. Income from salaries, income from securities, that means interest on securities, income from house property, income from agriculture, income from business or profession, income from capital gains, income from other sources. So these are the sources of income you have to calculate in the course of your career, meaning that if you are a practicing chartered accountant, then you have to advise the clients every time, and you have to appear before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, Appellate Joint Commissioners, Appellate Additional Commissioners, and Appellate Tribunal in order to represent the SSCs. So there might be different sources of income your SSC will have. So not only one source of income, rather they will have many sources of income. So you know that the sources of income is mentioned under section 20, that is the heads of income. After that, you will go one by one. That means in section 21, you will have income from salaries. In section 22, you will have income from interest on securities. Under section 24, you will have income from house property. Under section 26, you will have income from agriculture. Under section 28, you will have income from business or profession. Under section 30, you will have income from, under section 31, you will have income from capital gain. And under section 33, you will have income from other sources. That means which is not specified. So you have to know about the sources first. And if I mention that why section 33 does not have any specific source, would you be able to answer this question? Why section 33 does not have any specific source of income? Any answer from your side? No answer. Okay, then we go back to annual value. As I said to you that this is related to section 24. You have to calculate the income from house property. And in order to calculate the income from house property, you have to first know the annual value of the property. And after you determine the annual value of the property, you will deduct some of the expenses which are incurred for realizing the house property income or the rent. And afterwards, you come to the conclusion how much income you have earned out of that property. So section 24 deals with the annual value of the property, and section 25 deals with all the allowable deductions from the annual value of the property. That means you will find the expenses which you can deduct in order to arrive at the total income of the property. So section 24 says that annual value of the property means the value for which the property might reasonably be expected to let from year to year. That means if you want to let out your property, the value of the property that it can earn per year, and it might vary from 1 year to another year, because this year your property can earn something that is a particular amount, but maybe in the next year your property can earn another value, which means the rent this year cannot be the same in the next year. So it will vary. But as you know, that rent is not the annual value of the property, but this is the base on which you can calculate the annual value of the property. So in order to calculate or determine the annual value, you have to show the rental value, which is reasonable. Because in the definition, it has been said that the value for which the property might reasonably be expected to let from year to year, which means you must show the rent at a reasonable price. So if you say that I have got a house property in Dhanbandi area measuring 2000 square feet, and I have let it out at taka 15,000 per month, and the annual rent is 1,80,000 taka. This is not actually reasonable. You cannot rent a house in Dhanbandi area at 50,000 taka rent per month. Not possible. So that's why it has been said that it should be reasonably be expected to let from year to year. Okay, then you can show the rental value of the property and submit the return accordingly before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. But the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes will think whether this value is reasonable or not. So what he will do, he will consult your past record and see whether this value was accepted in the previous year. If it was accepted in the previous year, then he might accept it. Or if it was not accepted in the previous year and it was actually changed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, that means it was enhanced by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, in that case, he will also enhance the value this year. But it will definitely depend on the environment or on the prevailing situation. What type of situations are there? If you see that in the pandemic period, that means when COVID-19 was there, in that case, many buildings were without tenants. That means the tenants could not pay off their rent. So that's why many actually left. And the landlords were forced to rent out their property at a lesser rate. So it depends on the situation. And if the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes thinks that during the pandemic period, the rent was lower than before, in that case, he can assume the rent to be lower in place of the higher rent that was assumed in the past years. So it depends on the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and he has got the discretionary power to determine the annual value of the property. Another situation you might face that in normal situation, you have a house property in Dhanmondi area, and another person has got also a house property in Dhanmondi area. And since the jurisdiction of Dhanmondi falls under the same Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, in that case, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes should be able to consult both the files. That means your file and the file of another person. So when he sees that the rent which has been shown by another person is higher than you, then he
সরি
might.
স্যার, একটা কোশ্চেন করতে চাচ্ছিলাম। সরি স্যার, সরি স্যার। স্যার আমি যদি টিডিএস কাটা থাকে, যদি ডিড থাকে, তাহলে ডিসিটি কি এস্টিমেট করতে পারে স্যার ভ্যালুটা, রেন্টাল ভ্যালু স্যার?
Can you repeat it again? If
যদি ই থাকে, এগ্রিমেন্ট থাকে, এগ্রিমেন্ট উইথ এগ্রিমেন্ট এন্ড টিডিএস ডিডাকশন, তাহলে কি ডিসিটি সেটা অ্যাজিউম করতে পারে কিনা?
yes, you can, because agreement is between yourself and another person. So if you just reach an agreement with a particular person saying that this is the figure you will give me, or this is the figure you will pay me, this is an understanding between you and me, but you will pay me something in cash. The payment will be made by check, maybe for 25,000 taka per month, but 5,000 taka you will pay in cash. That is not mentioned in the agreement. So what will happen then? You understand what I mean?
Yes sir, understand.
Because agreement
This-
might be anything. Agreement is between you and another person. So
Sir.
if there is an understanding between you and another person,
একটু শেয়ার
could
করতে
be
চাচ্ছিলাম স্যার।
anything.
স্যার একটু শেয়ার করতে চাচ্ছিলাম।
Yes,
হাইকোর্টের
yes,
একটা
please.
হাইকোর্টের একটা রায় আছে যে সেক্ষেত্রে যদি ডিসিটির যদি ডিড থাকে এবং সে যদি টিডিএস কেটে থাকে, তাহলে সে এস্টিমেট করতে পারবে না। হাইকোর্টের একটা রায় আছে স্যার, সেই জন্য কোশ্চেনটা করেছিলাম স্যার। হাইকোর্টের একটা রায় আছে।
It is okay. High Court Rai is there, but if you see, then definition has to be changed. The act is passed by the Parliament, or it is promulgated by the President of the country.
জি স্যার।
So if the High Court order is beyond the act of the Parliament, that's different. It cannot be. So some people can follow it. That means the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes of a particular zone or particular circle can follow the decision of the High Court, but all the Deputy Commissioners are not bound to follow that. This is not an act. You understand what I mean?
Yes, understand sir. Understand sir.
So what we were discussing is that when two houses are located in the same property, and the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes has got two files in under his jurisdiction, he would be able to compare the rents of the two houses and can come to a decision what should be the actual value or the reasonable value of the property. So that's why the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes has got the discretion, because you know that the function of a Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is a quasi-judicial service. This is quasi-judicial. It's not judicial and it's not administrative. Rather, this is quasi-judicial. So he has got a discretionary function. And the Income Tax Act should be followed strictly by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. Since he is giving a judicial decision, he has been given this power in the income tax ordinance. So he will decide whether this value would be reasonable or not. If he thinks that this is reasonable, he will determine the value at that amount. But you have got some other options. Option means you can prefer an appeal against the order of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And you can go to the Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes or Appellate Additional Commissioner of Taxes for redressing the grievance you have against the order of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. If it is not fulfilled by the Appellate Joint Commissioner or Appellate Additional Commissioner, you can go to the Appellate Tribunal. So Appellate Tribunal can redress your grievance. That is also possible. So you have got some options. Okay, then let us again go back to the annual value. And as I said to you that this is the figure which is reasonable, applicable to a particular property. But when the person concerned, that means the landlord himself, shows the rental value which is higher than the annual value of the property. That means the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes thinks that the annual value of the property is this, but the SSC or the landlord has shown it at a higher value. In that case, the higher value would be the annual value of the property. But if the landlord shows the value at a lower figure, then the city would be able to enhance it. And if you have your property furnished or unfurnished, that is also a factor to consider. Because if your property is unfurnished, then your value, that is the rental value, would be a little bit less, of course. But if I have got one property which is also let out, and this is a furnished accommodation, in that case, my rental value would be higher than yours. So it is also reasonable. And in that case, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would determine which one would be higher and which one would be lower and why. Because there might be some reasons. When he will calculate the annual value of the property, he will write some reasons why that annual value has been taken by him. In case of unfurnished accommodation, the value would be a little bit lower, and for furnished accommodation, it would be a little bit higher. So this is the annual value of the property. And I believe that you have calculated income from house property by determining the annual value. And as I said to you, that section 24 and section 25, these two sections are to be taken into account in order to calculate the income from the house property. So I also said to you that under section 25, there are all deductions which are to be deducted from your annual value in order to arrive at the figure. Okay. Then let us go to another definition, starting with a Appellate Joint Commissioner, who is an Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes. You have an idea about that. And there are two types of Joint Commissioners. One is Inspecting Joint Commissioner, and another is Appellate Joint Commissioner. He is a person just above the rank of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. But Inspecting Joint Commissioner and Appellate Joint Commissioner both are in the same grade, but they have got different functions. Inspecting Joint Commissioner has to supervise the activities of the Deputy Commissioners of Taxes or assessing officers, but the Appellate Joint Commissioner, he has to hear the appeals preferred by SSCs against the orders given by the Deputy Commissioners of Taxes. So Appellate Joint Commissioner is a person appointed to be an Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes under section 3. And you have to remember under which section the Appellate Joint Commissioner of Taxes or other posts of income tax are mentioned in the income tax ordinance. Always section 3 says about the appointment of the appellate joint commissioner of taxes or appellate additional commissioner, or deputy commissioner as well. So he is a person who actually hears the appeals referred by SSC or representatives of the SSCs. You might be a representative of the SSC whenever you are practicing. So the SSC is not actually always prepared to go to the appellate joint commissioner of taxes for hearing because he does not know the nitty-gritty of the income tax. So that's why you, being a chartered accountant or a cost and management accountant or an ITP or an advocate, you would actually represent the SSC before the appellate joint commissioner of taxes. Then let us go to another definition, which is appellate tribunal. An appellate tribunal is a forum, and this is established under Section 11 of the Income Tax Ordinance 1984. So as I said that this is a forum, it means that there are a president and members of the appellate tribunal. You will see one president there and maybe one member or two members or three members. A member could be an accountant member and a member could be a judicial member, something like that. The accountant member means a person could be recruited or could be appointed as an accountant member from the community of the chartered accountants. Sometimes there were some accountant members from the chartered accountant community. So you might have a chance to become a member of the appellate tribunal. And the appellate tribunal will hear the cases which are preferred against the orders of the appellate joint commissioners or appellate additional commissioners, because the SSC is not satisfied with the verdict given by the appellate joint commissioner or additional commissioner. So in that case, they will try to prefer an appeal before the appellate tribunal. So the decision of the appellate tribunal is the final in most of the cases. Most of the cases, why I am mentioning is that when a case is related to facts, in that case, the decision of the appellate tribunal will be final. But when the case is related to law matters, that means it's related to law points. In that case, it can go to the High Court division of the Supreme Court, because the SSC may not be satisfied with the decision given by the tribunal. So that's why with that law point or against that law point, the SSC can prefer an appeal before the High Court division of the Supreme Court. So the High Court, the appellate tribunal is not in all cases the final authority. So there might be a question like that, whether appellate tribunal is the final authority to decide a case. So straight away answer you cannot have, because if you say that yes, the appellate tribunal is the final authority, then your answer would be wrong, because if there is a law point related to the case, in that case, the appellate authority is not the final authority, rather the High Court division would be the final authority. Okay. Then let us move to another definition. Approved gratuity fund. I understand that you have an idea about the gratuity fund because you are working with the chartered accountants funds. So you have seen the gratuity fund, how it is prepared, how it is formed. It means a gratuity fund means a fund which has been and continues to be approved by the board in accordance with the provisions of Part C of the first schedule. So if you look at Part C of the first schedule, you will see how the approved gratuity fund is formed or how it is operated. So approved gratuity fund is actually aimed at providing some benefits to the employees. If you have gratuity, it means that you are working with an organization. Maybe you are working with the government or with the company or even with the ICAB, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Bangladesh. So there are some provisions with regard to the gratuity. Gratuity means you are working with the organization, and for the contribution of a worker or an employee to the organization for a number of years, he or she will be given some benefit at the time of his retirement, or maybe at the time of his maybe retrenchment, or at the time when he is going to leave the job on his or her own, or voluntarily he can just resign from services for some reasons. And in that case also, if he covers a particular period, in that case, he will be given some benefit as a gratuity. So in the government, you will see that gratuity is given on the basis of the basic salary, the last basic salary. If the last basic salary of a government servant is 82,000, let us say, for example, which is the highest basic salary in case of a government servant, then you have to calculate it according to the formula given by the government. And in that case, it would be something like that, 82,000 times 0.9, that means 90% of this. And you will have a figure which is 90% of 82,000. So when you have a figure like that, you will divide it into two parts. Say, for example, the figure is 78,000, for example. And if it is 78,000, then you will divide it into two. That means 39,000 and 39,000. So 39,000, it will be your monthly pension for a retired government servant, and another 39,000, it will be converted into gratuity. And this amount will be multiplied by 230. So you will have a figure, and that figure will be maybe, you see, 87 lakhs or something like that. And that figure would be the gratuity money you will be given at the time of your retirement if you do not have any liability to the government. So that is the way of calculation of the gratuity money for a government servant. But in other organizations which are semi-government or which are autonomous or in a company, they will decide on their own how to form a gratuity fund, but it should be approved by the National Board of Revenue, because if it is not approved by the National Board of Revenue, then it will not be exempted from payment of taxes. So, for example, whenever you are receiving gratuity from the government after your retirement, your pension money will be free from tax, but your gratuity money will not be free from tax, but it is free from tax up to 2 crores 50 lakhs. If you receive gratuity money up to 2 crores 50 lakhs, then it will be exempted from tax. But if you receive something more than that, then it will not be free from tax. You have to pay tax on that. So that's why the gratuity fund, it should be approved by the National Board of Revenue, and it is to be approved every year by the National Board of Revenue in order to give benefit to the employees at the time of their retirement or they're leaving the organization. In that case, they will receive that benefit that it is not taxed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So you have to remember that the gratuity fund, whenever it is formed, by a company or your organization, that has to be approved. Okay. Like this, the approved superannuation fund or the pension fund, that has to be approved as well. Because if an employee receives pension money or superannuation money from an organization, that fund has to be approved by the National Board of Revenue. Otherwise, it will not give you the benefit of tax exemption. So you can have benefit, but this will not be exempted from tax. So this has to be submitted to the Commissioner of Taxes, under which jurisdiction your organization falls. So the Commissioner of Taxes would forward it to the National Board of Revenue for approval, and the National Board of Revenue will approve of it, and you will be given the benefit. And you have to consult Part C of the first schedule. And in case of superannuation fund, you have to consult Part A of the first schedule. You will see the schedule in this ordinance 1984. Then let us start with another definition, SSC. What is an SSC? SSC is a term which is common among the income tax practitioners, SSCs, or those people who deal with income tax matters. But among the general people who are not involved in the process, they are not very much aware of the term SSC. They know taxpayer. So that is a common term, which is taxpayer. But among the people who are involved with the income tax practice or income tax department, they know the term very well, which is SSC. So SSC would be a person who actually pays taxes to the government. And SSC could be an individual, could be a firm, could be a company, could be a corporate, could be an association of persons, could be a municipality, could be a local authority, could be an artificial juridical person, could be a fund, etc. So SSC could be a person who actually pays taxes. Person, we do not mean that a person is always an individual. No, in income tax ordinance, person is different. Person includes an individual, a firm, an association of person, a Hindu undivided family, so and so, as I have mentioned to you. So whenever you hear a person in the income tax ordinance or somebody from the income tax department, it means that it is not only an individual, rather a number of entities. We can better say entity. Okay. So when a person is supposed to pay tax or supposed to submit a return, then he becomes an assessee. If you have a taxable income, you are supposed to submit a return, then you are an assessee. So what is the taxable limit for an individual at this moment? It is normally 3 lakhs taka. If your income is 3 lakhs per year as an individual, then you are supposed to submit the income tax return. 3 lakhs taka means if you cross 3 lakhs taka, not 3 lakh taka, but if you cross 3 lakh taka, up to 3 lakh taka, it is not actually taxable. So what is it said? If you have an income up to 3 lakh, then what can you say? There is a term which is widely practiced by the income tax department. Any answer from your side? What is the term generally used by income tax department or the people involved with the income tax department? If I say that I have an income of 2,50,000 for the income year, so I am not supposed to pay taxes, or I am not supposed to submit the return to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. In that case, what you will say about this 2,50,000 taka? This is called general exemption limit. You will often hear the term general exemption limit. It means that up to taka 3 lakh, an individual is not supposed to submit the return. But in some cases, it is more than that, because if a retarded person is there, if a female is there, or if a wounded freedom fighter is there, they have got some other exemptions. But in all cases, this is called general exemption limit. So up to taka 3 lakhs, it is exempted from tax. It means that you don't have to pay any taxes. But if you cross that limit, then you have to pay taxes. And there are different slabs through which your tax will be calculated. But in case of a company, it's different. You don't have any general exemption limit. You will have to pay taxes on the income you are earning for a particular year, whatever income, whatever might be the quantum of the income. You have to pay taxes at the fixed rate. That means if the rate is 30%, you have to pay taxes at the rate of 30% on the income you have earned, whichever it is. Maybe 1,000 taka, you have to pay 300 taka if you are a company. Or if you have 1 crore taka, yes, you have to pay 30% on the 1 crore taka, which is 30 lakhs. So depends. In that case, you don't have any general exemption limit. So a person is owning a car, maybe he has purchased a car, he has to submit a return. But this year, it's mandatory for many purposes. Actually, if you want to purchase a savings instrument, then you have to submit a return, and the copy of the return has to be submitted before the authority. Authority means before the bank or any other financial institution from which you are buying the savings instrument. All these things are newly introduced in the Finance Act this year. And if you are assessed in the previous year, you are, of course, supposed to submit the return, even if you do not have the taxable income this year. And if you have been issued a notice by the Income Tax Department for any reason, then you will be treated as an assessee. And if you receive any notice for taking refund from the government, from the taxes department, then still you are an assessee. So these are all, the conditions for being an assessee. And you have to look at the definition section where assessee has been mentioned, and you will see under which circumstances you will be treated as an assessee. Then you will see another terminology which is called assessment year. And the assessment year means the year during which your assessment will be completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes for the income you have earned during the income year. Meaning that there are 2 years to be considered by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. One is income year, another is assessment year. Income year means the year during which you earned income, and the assessment year means the year during which your assessment will be completed. So let us suppose that the income year ends on the 30th day of June this year. That means 30th June 2022. So it started from July 1, 2021. So you had 1 year during which you earned your income. And now the assessment year starts from the 1st of July 2022, and this will come to an end on the 30th day of June next year. That means 30th day of June 2023. So from July 2022 and up to 30th June 2023, your assessment has to be completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. And there are a lot of provisions under which you have to submit your return. That means you can submit your return under Section 75, which has been mentioned in the Income Tax Ordinance 1984, meaning that if you are supposed to have taxable income, you have to submit your return under Section 75 and by the tax day. By the tax day means 30th day of November. This tax day was earlier 15 September, and sometimes this was 30th September, but afterwards it's now 30th day of November. So, so you have to submit the return by the 30th day of November this year in order to avoid penalties or delayed payments of taxes or some other penal measures, of course. And in order to avail of the universal self-assessment scheme, if you submit the return by the 30th day of November, you can submit your return under the self-assessment scheme. It means that the income has to be determined by you, calculated by you, and you have to calculate the tax yourself, and you will submit the return along with the tax which is applicable to your income. In that case, you will be given a receipt, and the receipt would be treated as an assessment order. But of course, you can have a certified copy of the return you have submitted, along with other documents like the wealth statement. So this is the benefit you will be deriving out of submission of return by the 30th day of November. But of course, if you want to extend the date, you can apply to the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and he can extend the date of submission of the return for 2 months. But even after that, if you need to get your date extended, in that case, you can also apply for further extension. And in that case, you can seek approval of the inspecting joint or additional commissioner of taxes, and it would again be extended by another 2 months. So during that period, you will be able to submit your return. But if you do not submit your return by that time, then you will be issued a notice, which is called notice under Section 77. When the tax day expires, then so as I said to you, if you do not submit the return by the 30th day of June, 30th November each year, then you have failed to submit the return under section 75. In that case, when the tax expires, in that case, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is supposed to issue a notice under section 77 asking you to submit the return. So in that case, you have to submit the return under the normal scheme. Normal scheme means when you submit the return, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes will issue a notice under section 83 and 79 for hearing. Then you have to be heard by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So your assessment would be completed by the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes after examining your documents or taking into consideration your salary certificates, your bank statements, or any other document you submit along with the return. So there is a normal procedure. And the risk is that you may be
Sir, I have a question.
yes.
If I have a tin, but my income does not exceed the general exemption limit, I am supposed to file return.
A little bit loud, please. Huh? A little bit loud.
If I have a tin, but my income does not exceed the general exemption limit, I am supposed to file return.
You are supposed to file a return as per
That's my question.
as per Finance Act this year. As per Finance Act this year, you have to submit a return. Even if your income is not taxable. Say, for example, I mentioned this thing. You want to purchase saving certificate, say 5 বছর মেয়াদি সঞ্চয়পত্র or family সঞ্চয়পত্র or pension সঞ্চয়পত্র. You want to buy that, but you don't have any income. You are buying that with your gift money. Okay, but since you have to submit the return for the purchase of the savings certificate, you have to submit a return stating that you don't have taxable income. So that is possible. It's not a problem at all. You have to submit it. If you say, or if you ask me whether this is justified or not, I can give my personal opinion. That's different thing. But what you have to do, you have to do that. What is said in the income tax, in the Finance Act this year, which has been incorporated in the income tax ordinance. So this is not at all justified. If you ask me a question personally, this is not at all justified. Because this person, whenever submits his return with an income which is not taxable, the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, if he makes an assessment of his income, he cannot enhance it beyond the taxable limit, and he should not tax it. If he taxes it, then it will be unjustified on the part of the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and this will be a harassment. So that is my personal opinion, but this is not from the legal point of view.
So harassment is common in situation in our tax environment. Sorry, sir.
Sometimes it's there, you cannot deny it, but there are also congenial atmosphere as well. So the situation is now getting changed. But if the law is not in favor of the assessees, then it is very difficult to deal with the situation. But if the law is favorable to the SSCs, then it will be comfortable for the SSCs to deal with the environment. So that is what I can say. So whenever you are making it,
I have another question.
yeah, please.
So at this time, my general exemption limit does not exceed my income. If I liable to minimum tax.
If you do not have your income beyond the exemption limit, then you are not supposed to submit the return. If you do not have any TIN, or if you do not need any TIN. But if you need any TIN for any purpose, you have to submit the return. That is the problem. Say, for example, you are an unemployed youth. You have passed the MA or MCOM examination from the university or college. Now you are doing nothing, but you are trying to participate in a tender. So maybe you would be able to supply some products to the organization if you win the tender. So that is the first job you are trying to have. So in order to have that job, you need to have an income tax certificate, which means you need to have a TIN, you need to have a tax clearance certificate. So what you are doing there, you are saying that I have got an income, but actually you don't have any income. So you have submitted a return showing your income, maybe 3,10,000 or something like that, and you have paid taxes accordingly. Maybe 5,000 taka minimum tax you have paid, and then you have taken a clearance certificate from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes, and you have submitted the same to the department, which is actually organizing a tender. So why you are doing that? You are doing that in order to procure the job. But these are all fake. You are not an SSC, you do not have any income, you are trying to find a job, and you have received a certificate which is not actually a proper certificate. I'm not saying proper, this is proper, but this is not actually a certificate which you earned out of your income. So these are all some provisions which are not going in favor of the SSC. This could have been avoided. This could have been avoided by making provision in the law. How could it be done? I can give you an example. You can participate in the tender without any tax certificate. But if you win the tender, the organization will ask you to just take a TIN number from the National Board of Revenue, and that will not require you to pay taxes. But since you have received a job or you have won a job in that organization, then you will definitely complete the job. And after completion of your job, you will be given the bill for the work. And of course, you will make a profit out of that. And in that case, you will definitely submit a return since you have received a TIN. And whenever your bill is given to you by the department or by the organization, they will mention about the tax deducted at source. So that could be the way how you can be an SSC and you can be an effective SSC to the National Board of Revenue. Is it okay for you?
Yes, sir. Clear.
So this has to be changed actually, but I do not know when reforms will be brought about. Maybe some people are also working on that, and different organizations are there, like the World Bank, IMF, etc. They are also working on the reforms to be brought about by the National Board of Revenue. and the income tax ordinance, which will be converted to Income Tax Act very soon. And of course, the NBR is also working on that. So if you find a new act, you will also see whether the act has been simplified or not. They are also trying to simplify the act so that people will be comfortable to deal with the income tax matters. Okay. Then let us go to another definition, which is assessment year. We have mentioned about the assessment year, and the assessment year is generally for a period of 12 months, starting from the 1st day of July and ending on the 30th day of June next year. So this year, the assessment year started from 1st July 2022, and it will come to an end on the 30th day of June 2023. So you can ask a question whether if your assessment is not completed during this assessment year, whether that could be completed in the following year or not. Yes, it could be completed in the following year because, as I said to you, that the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes would issue a notice under Section 77 to submit the return if you have not submitted the return under Section 75. So you can submit a return under Section 77, and in that case, your assessment could be completed. But the period of issuing notice under Section 77 would be up to 30th day of June next year. That means 2023. After that, the DCT would not be able to issue a notice under Section 77 asking you to submit a return. So he will be in trouble. So if he does not issue a notice under Section 77 asking you to submit a return during the assessment year, in that case, he cannot issue a notice under Section 77 after the assessment year expires. In that case, what he has to do? He has to issue another notice. That means notice under Section 93 asking you to submit a return. And he is no longer able to issue a notice under Section 77. So assessment year is very important for the Deputy Commissioners of Taxes. And it is also important for the assessors to get the assessments completed by the DCTs. Then let us move to another definition, Assistant Commissioner of Taxes. This is also important in the sense that he is the assessing officer. Generally, we say that Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is the pivotal officer for assessment purposes. But in the Income Tax Ordinance, you will see the definition of a Deputy Commissioner of Taxes is an inclusive definition. Inclusive definition means the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes means a person who is a Deputy Commissioner of Taxes and includes Assistant Commissioner of Taxes and Extra Assistant Commissioner of Taxes. So all these three types of officers are called Deputy Commissioners of Taxes. But the entry point as a Class 1 officer is the Assistant Commissioner of Taxes. He is the person who enters into the department as a Class 1 officer. And he is recruited generally by the Public Service Commission. But sometimes some officers are promoted to the rank of Assistant Commissioners of Taxes from the position of an Extra Assistant Commissioner of Taxes. An Extra Assistant Commissioner of Taxes is an officer in the rank of Class 2, and he is promoted from the rank of an Inspector of Taxes. So they are all promoted officers. However, they have got the assessment powers. Whatever the DCT can do, an assistant commissioner of taxes can do the same, and an extra assistant commissioner of taxes can also do the same. So whenever an assessment order is prepared by the deputy commissioner of taxes, and if he writes that one moment, please. So whenever an assessment order is prepared by a deputy commissioner of taxes, the name of the assessing officer is mentioned there, and the designation is sometimes deputy commissioner of taxes or assistant commissioner of taxes or extra assistant commissioner of taxes, or even if an extra assistant commissioner of taxes signs an assessment order and he writes that after his name, he writes that he is the deputy commissioner of taxes. It is not illegal in the eye of law. You cannot challenge it because the income tax ordinance has given him the power to work as a deputy commissioner of taxes. That means he is the assessing officer. So he can write after his name, deputy commissioner of taxes. But actually, whenever he would like to mention about his designation, not in the assessment order, then he would write that he is an assistant commissioner of taxes or extra assistant commissioner of taxes. So with regard to the assistant commissioner of taxes, this is the entry point to the taxes department, and he or she is recruited by the Public Service Commission as per requisition given by the National Board of Revenue. So he would be promoted to the rank of a deputy commissioner of taxes later on. So that is about the assistant commissioner of taxes. You tell me if you need any break sometimes. Then let us go to another definition, Bangladeshi company or Bangladesh company. So this is, of course, company, and you know that company is a special entity. This is formed under the Companies Act 1994. But before that, we had one Companies Act, which was Companies Act 1913. That was introduced in British India. But we have been following that, and in the Companies Act 1994, no much change has taken place actually, but it's almost the same as the Companies Act 1913. So a company would be formed under this act with the provisions which have been mentioned in the Companies Act 1994. So generally we see that there are two types of companies. One is a private limited company and another is a public limited company. And there are some requirements for each company. If it is a private company, then the number of shareholders would be between 2 and 50. And if it is a public limited company, then the number of shareholders would be at least 7. And the maximum number is unlimited. But it is not unlimited actually, rather this is limited by the number of the shares. So if you have 1,000 shares, your number of shareholders could be 1,000, or it could be less than that, but it could be up to 1,000. But the minimum number of shareholders would be 7. And in case of private limited company, it could be different, because the number of shareholders could be between 2 and 50. And the public limited company would be able to issue shares to the public. It could be listed with the stock exchange, and it could offer IPOs to the general public. And in the formation of the company, there will be some requirements like the memorandum of association, the articles of association, etc. And sometimes when the shares are issued, it will be according to the prospectus given by the company or issued by the company. The memorandum of association is the most important document for a company, wherein you will find some clauses which are very important for the company. There are 5 clauses actually which are to be remembered by you, and the clauses are name clause, object clause, situation clause, liability clause, and capital clause. So the name of the company has to be mentioned there. There cannot be any duplication in the name. And whenever you submit an application for forming a company, you have to do it to the Register of Joint Stock Companies and Firms, and they will decide whether this name could be approved or not. Sometimes they will reject the name, sometimes they will approve of it, or sometimes they will ask you to change the name. And objective clause has to be there. That means the objectives of the company have to be mentioned. What you want to do, whether you are doing business in arms, ammunitions, or rice, or aeroplane, or sugar, or oil, whatever it is. Whether this is a manufacturing company or a trading company, etc., etc. The objectives the objectives have to be specified, what you want to do for the company. So that's very important. Objective clause. And the situation clause is the 3rd clause, which is also very important, because in order to become a Bangladeshi company, the management of affairs should be located in Bangladesh. That means the location of the company, the registered office of the company has to be in Bangladesh, which is very important. And liability clause, that means you would have limited liability. That means your liability would be determined by the number of the shares you would be holding. That is the payment you have made, as the value of the shares would be limited to the payment of liabilities in future if needed. And that's why the company is popular with the people. But if you have individual concern or partnership, in that case, your liability is not limited. This is unlimited. So in the partnership, you will find that every partner is jointly and severally liable or responsible for the payment of liabilities. But here in the company, it's different. So that's why this is more or less popular all the time. And then capital clause, that means how the capital would be realized by the company, what would be the authorized capital, what would be the paid up capital, what would be the subscribed capital, what would be the issued capital, it will be determined by the company. But authorized capital is very important because that is the ultimate capital you can realize from the public. But at the initial point, your paid up capital could be any figure. That means which is always less than the authorized capital. So it is to be decided by the company. And articles of association is also there, how the company will be regulated, how the AGM will be held, management, how the management would be operated, something like that. So these are the issues relating to company and Bangladeshi company. As I said to you, that the registered office of the company has to be in Bangladesh. And it is actually a company, but because of the location, it is called Bangladeshi company. And you will see another definition, banking company. It is also a company, but deals with banking matters like taking deposits and giving loans to the public or traders or businessmen at a rate of interest, realizing the loan and to deal with foreign currencies, etc. Those are the activities of the banking companies, but it is regulated by the Banking Companies Act 1991. So those are also like companies, and there would be directors, there would be AGMs, there would be chairman of the board of management or board of governors, etc. So these are all profit-oriented companies and doing specific businesses. And objectives would be different because they will not be dealing with products and services, but their services would be only with banking matters. And then the definition could be board. Board means here, whenever somebody says board, income tax people will understand this is the National Board of Revenue. And this is the highest authority of the income tax department or customs or VAT. And the board is, of course, headed by the chairman. And the chairman is the secretary of the Internal Resources Division. So the secretary of the Internal Resources Division is the ex officio chairman of the National Board of Revenue. And under him, there are a number of posts called members. In the income tax wing, there are 8 members. In the VAT and customs wing, there are 8 members. And 1 member is there from administration. And after them, there will be first secretaries, second secretaries in the National Board of Revenue. The first secretaries and second secretaries, they are all from the field posts. Field post means they are Deputy Commissioner of Taxes or Joint Commissioner or Additional Commissioner of Taxes, but whenever they work in the National Board of Revenue, they are called first secretaries or second secretaries. And board actually formulates the policies of income tax, customs, and VAT. So the commissioners of taxes, who are the field officers, I would say, they're responsible for collecting the revenue. That means they are given targets by the board and they realize the revenue, which is actually necessary for the government. And then the definition is business. What is the business? You understand what a business is. A business could be any trade, commerce, or any venture, or a manufacturing activity. But the objective of the business is to be profit-oriented. That means you have got a commercial motive in order to do business. But you can ask a question that there could be one business and they can utilize the money, that means the profit, for for philanthropic purposes. Yes, they can do that. But commercial motive is there. What is the commercial motive? Because they have to make a profit. Otherwise, they cannot utilize the money for philanthropic purposes. So that's why commercial motive is always there. So whenever there is a business, you will see it's actually profit-oriented. It could be service, or it could be manufacturing, it could be trading. So whatever it is, the motive of profit is there. And then the definition of capital asset. Capital asset means property of any kind held by an assessee, whether or not connected with his business or profession, but does not include, stock in trade, consumable stores, or raw materials held for the purpose of his business or profession. Meaning that it could be property of any kind, but it could be related to business or it could not be related to business. But it does not include any stock in trade. Stock in trade means which you have bought for onward sale. That means it is not your capital asset. There could be raw materials as well, but stock of raw materials, which is also not included as a capital asset. And it does not also include personal effects. Personal effects means movable property, including wearing apparel, jewelry, furniture, fiction, equipment, and vehicles, which are held exclusively for personal use by and are not used for purposes of business or profession of the assessee or any member of the family dependent on him. It means that you might have a vehicle, that is a car or a jeep, but which is for your personal use, not for your business use or professional use. That means you are not using it for your profession or for your business. So in that case, it will be treated as a personal effect. Your jewelry, of course, this is for personal use. Your furniture, your fixture, everything which is movable and used for personal purpose, those are excluded from your capital asset. So why is it necessary to determine whether this is a capital asset or not? This is necessary because of the reason whenever it is sold out in future, you can gain a profit, which is called capital gain. So if you have capital gain, or if you receive capital gain, in that case, you have to pay taxes on that. So if this is capital asset only, then your capital gain will arise. But if it is not a capital asset, that in that case, your capital gain will not arise. So that's why you don't have to pay taxes on that. So income under section 31 would not arise. That's why it is necessary for you to determine or identify which asset is capital asset and which asset is not capital asset. Okay. Then let us go to the definition chartered accountant. So you all know what a chartered accountant is, because you are studying chartered accountancy, and hence you know it very well. And the term chartered accountant means a chartered accountant as defined in the Bangladesh Chartered Accountants Order 1973, Presidential Order number 2 of 1973. So that was an order promulgated by the president of the country in that year, because the parliament was not in session that time. So that's why president had to promulgate an order establishing the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Bangladesh, wherein everything is mentioned, how you become a chartered accountant and how you can practice as a chartered accountant and how you would be treated as a registered accountant with other organizations. That means if you become a chartered accountant from the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Bangladesh, you can obtain the membership of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of England and Wales. Of course, you have to submit some documents of your experience, etc. But you can work there as a chartered accountant. But if you want to practice as a chartered accountant there, you have to sit for just 2 examinations, which is the income tax of that country and maybe company law of that country, something like that. So everything is mentioned in the Chartered Accountants Order and the rules. And by virtue of this Chartered Accountants Order, your profession would be regulated. That means whenever you are a practicing chartered accountant, you will be regulated by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Bangladesh, because the professional ethics should be maintained by you. If you cannot uphold the ethics of a chartered accountant, the institute has got the right to punish you. So that's why your profession is regulated by the ICAB as per this order. Because the profession is very important. You are an external auditor sometimes. Sometimes you are working with an organization, but when you are an external auditor, your responsibility is much greater because you have to ensure transferability, accountability, and good governance. So whenever you are signing an audited report, it means that you are authenticating it. That means whatever has been given to you, you have very thoroughly examined all those, verified the books of accounts, then you have come to a decision and you have certified it. Sometimes you will say that this is a qualified report. Sometimes you will say this is an unqualified report. So it depends on you. So which is very important on your part. Okay, then let us move to another definition, commissioner. When commissioner is mentioned by somebody, it means the commissioner of taxes. Sometimes it could be commissioner of customs. And there are other commissioners as well in the local authorities. But when people involving in the taxes department say commissioner, it means that commissioner of taxes. So a commissioner of taxes is a person appointed to be a commissioner of taxes under Section 3 of the Income Tax Ordinance 1984. And there are two types of commissioners of taxes. One is commissioner of taxes of a zone. Another is commissioner of taxes of an appellate zone. That means commissioner of taxes could be administrative or commissioner of taxes could be appellate. So when the commissioner of taxes so commissioner of taxes of a zone, he is responsible for meeting the budget. Budget means he is allocated a target for realization of revenue, and he will realize the revenue from his jurisdiction. His jurisdiction might be for a particular area, particular district, particular upajilas, etc., etc. And through his officers, that means through his DCTs, he will get the assessments completed and realize the amount of his budget. And he will be assisted by additional commissioners, joint commissioners, and the assessing officers, but of course, some other staff members. And in case of an appellate commissioner, that means commissioner of taxes appeals, he does not have to meet any budget. He does not have any allocation of budget. Rather, he will be responsible for dispose of the cases. Dispose of the cases means the cases which are contested by the assessees against the orders of the deputy commissioners of taxes. So he is responsible for hearing the appeals of the assessees and or his or her or their representatives like you, and he will give decisions on those cases. So this is just to do justice to the assessees. That means taxpayers. So his position is a little bit different from the positions of the commissioners of taxes, but a commissioner of taxes could be transferred to the position of a commissioner of taxes appeals, and a commissioner of taxes appeals could also be transferred as a commissioner of a zone, administrative zone. That is also possible. So it is done by the National Board of Revenue. And again, the definition of a company. And you know that the definition of a company, as I have said to you, is that a company which would be formed under the Companies Act 1994 as per the provisions of that act. The Companies Act is going to be changed to Companies Act 2022 or 2023, because a new act is going to be formulated by the Ministry of Commerce, because the Register of Joint Stock Companies and Firms is under the Ministry of Commerce. They are working very relentlessly to change the law to a new act. And hopefully they can get it completed by the next year. And in that act, of course, there have been some amendments to the act. Nowadays, you can have one-man company. That is also possible. It was done in 2018 when some amendments were brought about to the existing Companies Act. And I believe that there will be other changes as well. And in that case, a new act you will have, and you have to study a new act. But most of the provisions are there, which are now existent in the previous act. They will remain as they are, but new provisions would also be included. Maybe some simplifications would be there. Nowadays, if you cannot hold the AGM within a specific period, in that case, you have to seek the approval of the High Court Division of the Supreme Court in order to hold the AGM. So there is a specific time by which you have to hold the AGM for a company. But afterwards, if the new Company Act is introduced, maybe it would be changed one, because the Register of Joint Stock Companies would have to be given the permission to allow a company to hold an AGM if it has not been able to make it within this specific time. Like that. So this is just one example I am citing before you. And then let us go to another definition, which is called cooperative society. Cooperative society means a cooperative society registered under Cooperative Societies Act 2001. So cooperative society is also, an SSC submitting return before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes when they have got some income. So that's why the societies have to be registered through the Societies Act 2001 and should be administered under the same act. Another definition could be cost and management accountant. So it is an accountant who deals with cost and management of the affairs of a company. And they are not like you, because you are working under a firm for a certain period, which is called internship period, but they do not have this period in their institute. So the institute is called the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh, and the Cost and Management Accountants of Bangladesh Ordinance 1977 was there, but afterwards it was changed to an act in 2018. So now it is an act which was passed in the parliament, but earlier this was an ordinance which was introduced in 1977. And before the introduction of the ordinance in 1977, it was called separately. It was called a separate name, which was called BIIA, Bangladesh Institute of Industrial Accountants. They were called industrial accountants. But afterwards, they were called cost and management accountant. So this is also as per Act, and they have also got an institute. They have got more or less similar subjects as you study, but from the practical point of view, they don't have any internship program. And they do not audit the company's firms, etc. Okay, then you go to the definition of dividend. What is a dividend? And it is important for you to know what a dividend is. Can you tell me what a dividend is? Any answer from your side? Dividend is, of course, profit of a company, but the full amount of profit is not given as dividend. So dividend is given out of the after-tax profit, meaning that the profit of a company is subject to taxation. And whenever tax is paid, the after-tax profit is there. And from the after-tax profit, dividend is given to the shareholders, which is declared in the annual general meeting. And the meeting actually decides what percentage of dividend could be given to the shareholders. Maybe it's 15%, 20%, 25%, 10%, whatever it is. That means it is given on the value of shares held by a shareholder. So when dividend is given out of the after-tax profit, and the remaining part of the after-tax profit goes to the company as retained earning, so which is kept in the company for capitalization. So dividend, it is a distribution of a company by a company of accumulated profit, whether capitalized or not. If such distribution entails the release by the company to its shareholders of all or any part of its excess or reserve, meaning that your accumulated profit, if there is any in the company, dividend could be given from the accumulated profit. If you say that the company has not made any profit this year, and whether this company would be able to pay dividend this year, yes, this company would be able to pay dividend if it has got accumulated profit. Otherwise, you cannot. So the dividend could be paid out of the current profit, or it could be paid out of the accumulated profit. So it has been said that dividend is a distribution by a company to the extent to which the company possesses accumulated profits. And Any distribution made to the shareholders of a company on its liquidation to the extent to which the distribution is attributable to the accumulated profits of the company immediately before its liquidation, whether capitalized or not. That means when a company is liquidated or dissolved, sometimes the shareholders are paid a distribution of the assets. So when there is a distribution of assets, there could be a dividend. Which one would be dividend? So when this distribution is made to the shareholders on its liquidation, to the extent to which the distribution is attributable to the accumulated profit. That means your distribution money maybe is a certain amount, but the DCT will see whether this amount is attributable to the accumulated profit, part of the accumulated profit. If it is attributable to the part of the accumulated profit, then up to that amount, it will be treated as dividend, but rest of the amount will not be treated as dividend. So that's why it is also important to note that dividend could be determined by the DCT at the time of the liquidation or dissolution of the company. Any profit remitted outside Bangladesh by a company not incorporated in Bangladesh under Companies Act 1994. So whenever any profit is remitted outside Bangladesh by a company which is not incorporated in Bangladesh. So if it is incorporated in Bangladesh, it means that it will be formed under the Companies Act 1994. But if it is not formed under the Companies Act 1994, in that case, it will not be incorporated here. And that's why when such a company remits money outside Bangladesh, it will be treated as dividend. So it has to pay taxes on the dividend. Another important condition of dividend is that any payment by a private company of any sum, whether as representing a part of the assets of the company or otherwise, by way of advance or loan to the shareholder, or any payment by any such company on behalf or for the individual benefit of any such shareholder to the extent to which the company in either case possesses accumulated profits. So whenever a payment is made by a company of a sum by way of advance or loan to a shareholder, this should be made by a private company, of course, or any payment by any such company on behalf of or the individual benefit. That means whenever the company is making a payment on behalf of the shareholder, that means the shareholder is not paying any money, rather the company is paying money on his or her behalf. So if the company has got accumulated profit, in that case, the money that has been paid by the company on behalf of the shareholder would be treated as dividend. This is important to note here. But if there is an advance or loan made to a shareholder in the ordinary course of its business, where the lending of money is a substantial part of the business of the company. But here you have to remember that when the main course or the ordinary course of the business is giving loan to people, which is the substantial part of the business. So in that case, if the company gives a loan to the shareholder, even then it will not be treated as a dividend, because this is the substantial part of the business to give loan to the people. And if you have any bonus share received by you from the company, you are not always receiving, dividend from the company, but you can also receive bonus share from the company. So if you receive bonus share from the company, it would not be treated as dividend. But sometimes in the past, the bonus share issued by a company would have been treated as dividend. So there was a provision like that, but that provision is no longer in existence. So at the current time, if you are receiving bonus share from the company, it will not be treated as dividend. So these are the provisions of dividend. You have to learn them with due attention, because this term is very important. Then we can move to another definition, employee. Employee in relation to a company includes the managing director or any other director or other person who, irrespective of his designation, performs any duties or functions in connection with the management of the affairs of the company. So employee, the definition is very important in the sense that anybody who is working with the management of a company would be treated as an employee. It has got some reasons why it is like that. Because if I say that managing director is the employee of the company, or the directors would be treated as employees, others will not be treated as employees, then it's a problem, because sometimes a notice has to be issued to the company. So if the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes issues a notice on the managing director of the company, and he is absent from the company for maybe some days or some months, the notice will not be opened by anybody else of the company. So the purpose of the notice will not be served. So that's why the definition of employee is very important. If the managing director is not present in the company right at this moment, a notice from the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes could be issued to the director or to any other employee who is involved in the management of the affairs of the company. So that's why the notice should be treated as has been served to the company in order to appear before the Deputy Commissioner of Taxes. So that's why employee definition is important on the part of the income tax ordinance. Okay, then let us move to the fair market value. This is also related to capital asset. And as we discussed the issue, we actually tried to understand what the capital assets are. So fair market value is also very important in relation to our capital asset. Why fair market value is important? Because the capital asset has to be sold out or disposed of. And when it is disposed of, you have to find out the price. Because the SSC would be declaring a price, but that price may not be the market price, or that price may not be the fair market value. So in order to calculate the fair market value, the DCT would be able to judge the market. It will compare the value with the market on the day on which the property or the capital asset was sold out. He could receive an information with regard to that from any source, maybe from primary source or from secondary source, in order to arrive at a decision of calculating fair market value. When the fair market value is calculated by the DCT, then other expenses would be deducted from that fair market value in order to reach the capital gain. So that's why fair market value is important. So this is the value which it could fetch from the market on the day on which it was sold out. So it could be a public market on which it could be offered to the public, and the public would just buy it at a certain price, or there would be different offers from different people, and the highest bidder would be given the capital asset. This is the system of the market. So the DCT will try to find out the value on that particular day on which the capital asset was actually offered in the market. Then let us move to another definition, which is called firm. And when we say firm means a partnership firm. And that is, of course, a definition of the partnership firm. And you know the definition of the partnership firm, of course, because there are a lot of partnership firms in the country. But since you are working as an intern in a partnership firm, that is also a partnership firm. So you have got an idea about the partnership firm, but sometimes in the income tax related issues, I would say that they have meant partnership firms which are actually registered under the Partnership Act 1932. Those are the firms. But here, when it is among the chartered accountants, these firms are a little bit different. Sometimes a sole tradership concern is also called a firm, but this is not actually a firm. Partnership firm, chartered accountants firm, these are called firms. But when there is only one owner of the concern, it could not be a firm. So the chartered accountants firm a little bit different, but it is actually a general partnership firm, which could be formed by at least 2 people, and the maximum number of partners could be 20. But in case of banking partnerships, it could be up to 10. And of course, there should be a definition of the partnership. And the definition is, it's the relationship between the persons who have agreed to share the profits of a business carried on by all or any one of them acting for all. So meaning that it's a relationship among the partners or between the partners. And all the partners can participate in the management or to carry on the business, or one could be given the responsibility to carry on the business on behalf of others. So it depends on the contract or agreement. However, this is a relationship, and one person could be, or one partner could be active partner, another partner could be dormant partner, another partner could be sleeping partner, or whatever. And then the income, the definition of income, which is also very important for you. What is income? Income could be your profit, could be your gain, could be anything which is a receipt. But capital receipt is not an income, but it is income if there is a provision in the income tax ordinance. But here in the income tax ordinance, there is a provision for capital gain. That means section 31 is there. So section 31 says that yes, if you receive income as capital gain, it will also be treated as income and it will be taxed. So it is also income. So income could be income, it could be profit, it could be gain, it could be any other revenue receipt. We can say it could be any other revenue receipt. Importantly, you have to remember that the loss is also an income. Why? Because definition says that not only profit, but loss is also included in income. That means income includes loss as well. Or it could be said that any amount on which tax is imposed, that could also be treated as income. Or any amount which is treated as income under any provision of this ordinance. That means any amount which is treated as income under any of the provisions of the Income Tax Ordinance 1984. Or it could be a deemed income, of course. And any loss of such income, profit or gain, this is also as income. But you can say this is a negative income. This is not a positive income. So sometimes a question can come whether entertainment allowance could be given or could be allowed to a company when it is incurring losses. Because entertainment allowance is given under Rule 65 when there is a profit. And there are some slabs. Slabs means on a particular amount of income, a certain percentage is given as allowable entertainment expenditure. So if there is no income, then what happens? So as for this definition, we can say that as income includes loss, the entertainment allowance could be given to a company even if it incurs losses, as per this definition. Okay, then let us move to another definition, which is interest. Interest means interest payable in any manner in respect of any money borrowed or debt incurred, including a deposit, claim, or other similar right or obligation, and includes any service fee or other charge in respect of the money borrowed or debt incurred, or in respect of any credit facility which has not been utilized. So what does it mean? It means that whenever you have borrowed money from the bank, you are paying interest on that. If you do not pay interest on that, you are paying a service fee. So if you are paying a service fee, sometimes you will see that the Islamic banks, they do not say that there is an interest on the borrowed money. Rather, they say that there is a service fee or service charge on the borrowed money. So in that case, that service fee or charge would be treated as interest. Okay. Then let us go to another definition, which is called market value. But I think this is not that important for you to learn. Market value you know very well. perquisite is important for you. What is perquisite? Generally, you will see that an SSC is receiving salaries from a company, but he has got some other receipts as perquisite. So the definition says any payment made to an employee by any employer in the form of cash or in any other form, excluding basic salary, festival bonus, incentive bonus, not exceeding 10% of disclosed profit of relevant income year, arrear salary, advance salary, leave encashment, or leave fare assistance and overtime. All these are excluded from the perquisite. If there is any other payment excluding all this, then that will be treated as perquisite. And any benefit, whether convertible into money or not, provided to an employee by an employer called by whatever name other than distribution to a recognized provident fund, approved pension fund, approved gratuity fund, or approved superannuation fund. So these benefits are not treated as perquisites. So what is perquisite? If you have been given a telephone at your residence and the bill is paid by the employer, not by you, so that would be treated as a perquisite. If the children are getting the tuition fees from the employer, that means your children are getting tuition fees from your employer, which means this is perquisite. If your gas bill, electricity bill, etc. are paid by the employer, this is perquisite, of course. These are the examples of perquisite you have to take into account when calculating the income of an employee under Section 21, that is salaries and allowances. Then on to another definition, which is called person. Person, as I said to you before, that person does not mean individuals only, rather it means an individual, an association of persons, a Hindu undivided family, a firm, a company, an artificial juridical person, a fund, a local authority, a municipal corporation, etc., etc. So all these are actually persons. And then come to another definition, which is profit in lieu of salary. Profit in lieu of salary includes the amount of compensation due to or received by an SSC from his employer at or in connection with the termination or the modification of any terms and conditions relating to his employment. That means whenever an employee is terminated from his job by the employer, in that case, he could be given a compensation money by the employer. Whenever such a compensation money is given by the employer, it will be treated as profit in lieu of salary. Or any payment due to or received by an SSC from a provident or other fund to the extent to which it does not include or it does not consist of contributions by the SSC and the interest accrued thereon. It means that you are contributing to the provident fund and interest is being accrued on that. But afterwards, whenever you're receiving something from the provident fund, which is more than the amount consisting of the contribution made by you to the provident fund as well as the interest accrued thereon. So if there is an additional amount, in that case, the additional amount would be treated as profit in lieu of salary. So that is, of course, very important, because whenever you are receiving something as profit in lieu of salary, it will be taxed. And recognized provident fund, this definition, we do not have to analyze it here because we actually discussed this previously. Resident, the definition of resident is important here because an SSC could be a resident or could be non-resident. But the term resident is not related to citizenship of a country. This is totally different, because a foreigner who stays here in Bangladesh could be a resident, but he is not a citizen. And even a Bangladeshi who is not staying here in Bangladesh, he could be a non-resident because he is absent from the country for a particular period of time. So that's why he could be treated as non-resident. So what are the conditions of being a resident? An individual who has been in Bangladesh for a period of, or for periods amounting in all to 182 days or more in that year. In that year means this is income year. So if in the income year somebody stays in Bangladesh for a period of, or for periods amounting in all to 182 days or more, he would be treated as a resident. So he can stay here at a stretch, or he can stay here in phases. Or another condition could be there for a period of, or for periods amounting in all to 90 days or more in that year, having previously been in Bangladesh for a period of, or for periods amounting in all to 365 days or more during 4 years preceding that year. That means in the income year, you have to stay here for 90 days or more. And for the 4 years preceding that income year, you have to stay in Bangladesh for 365 days or more. So these are the two conditions. And if you fulfill one of the conditions, then you would be treated as a resident. And then a Hindu undivided family, firm, or other association of persons, the control and management of whose affairs is situated wholly or partly in Bangladesh in that year. So in case of a firm or Hindu undivided family or association of persons, the control and management of its affairs should be wholly or partly located in Bangladesh in that year. Then they will be treated as resident. And for a Bangladeshi company or any other company, the control and management of whose affairs is situated wholly in Bangladesh in that year. So for a company, its control and management should be located in Bangladesh in that year. In that case, it will be treated as a Bangladeshi company. A trust fund or an entity, the control and management of whose affairs is situated wholly in Bangladesh in that year. So in order to become a trust, a fund, or any other entity, the management of whose affairs should be wholly located in Bangladesh in that year. So not partly, it is wholly. A local authority and every other artificial juridical person, they would be treated as resident because they are located in Bangladesh. Local authority belongs to the government of Bangladesh. So that's why it's always resident here. And if you move to salary, it's also important for you if you receive salary from a company and what the salary means. could be a pay or wages. It could be any annuity, pension or gratuity, or fee, commission, allowance, perquisites or profits in lieu of salary, and any advance of salary, or it could be a leave encashment. All these are actually parts of salaries. So ingredients of salaries, you can say. When calculating the income of an individual receiving salary, you can look at those. And then we do not have much to learn here. Only 3 or 4 things are here. Speculation business. So what is a speculation business? You understand well about the speculation business when the business is something not regular. And if you do a business in order to make a windfall profit, and there are fluctuations in prices or there is a risk involved in it, in that case, it will be treated as a speculation business. That means you are holding some shares for a certain period and you are again selling them off in order to gain money. In that case, it will be treated as a speculation business, but actual transfer does not take place sometimes because you can just sell the scraps. So you can just go through this definition, speculation business, not very difficult for you to understand. You know it very well since you deal with all those affairs. And we have also said about the tax day. We say tax day. What is tax day here? It's 30th day of November nowadays, but it was different before, like 15th September, 30th September. But nowadays it is 30th November. So you have to submit the return by this date in order to avoid penalties or some inconveniences. So that's why tax day is important for you. And another definition is transfer. Transfer in relation to a capital asset includes the sale, exchange, or relinquishment of the asset or the extinguishment of the right therein, but does not include any transfer of the capital asset under a gift, bequest, will, or any irrevocable trust. So if you make a gift of any asset, it will not be treated as transfer because if there is a transfer, then capital gain will arise. But if it is a gift, it is not transfer, and capital gain will not arise. If there is a will, it is not treated as a transfer. Capital gain will not arise here. Any distribution of the assets of a company to its shareholders on its liquidation, this is not transfer. Any distribution of capital assets on the dissolution of a firm or other association of persons, or on the partition of a Hindu undivided family, this is also not treated as transfer. So capital gain will not arise out of that. So this has to be excluded. So we have come to the end of our discussion. If you have anything to ask, you can ask. Otherwise, we can stop here. And we definitely look forward to meeting you again in the coming days. Thank you very much for your participation and attention.